I am a partner and principal consultant at Depth Security, kind of head up their assessment services offerings. And I have an authentication bypass vulnerability that I found in my own closed circuit television camera system. When I built my last home, I ran Siamese coax and cameras, just as it's so easy when you're building, so that I can keep an eye on all my stuff when I'm taking all those vacations I take. And not really, but it gives you peace of mind when you can pull out your iPhone or web browser and take a look at your home while you're away, even at the office or whatever. So I finally made some time to take a look at the DVR and how the communications work from the various clients that you can use to view your cameras with. And I found some pretty disturbing things that I don't think are uncommon with these types of DVRs and solutions. It'd probably help if I started on the first slide instead of the last. Alright, there we go. So I got a reserved CVE for this, and right before I left I sent this out to Bug Track and full disclosure. But we'll go ahead and get into it. So, or not. Okay, so the DVR gives you several options to connect to it and manage it. One is a untrusted, unsigned ActiveX that you run in Internet Explorer. Show of hands, who loves running unsigned ActiveX controls? All right. So that's what the login looks like if you come across one of these in an assessment or whatever. And that's what it looks like when your camera's trained on a beautiful specimen of a man like myself. Once you're logged in, that's what you get. That's the actual configuration page for managing the thing, user accounts, camera channels, encoding, all that good stuff. There's also a FAT client called PSS that's just install on Mac or Windows, and it communicates through the same protocols to access the camera system. And there is a mobile app called IDMSS that you can do all this stuff with as well. So the hope when I bought the camera was to, if it happened, catch something like a burglary or something like that on camera and have evidence to give to law enforcement. That's a really picturesque burglary scene. It's broad daylight, but anyway. That's what I kind of hoped, but the reality of running a CCTV system in a relatively low crime rate suburban city like Shawnee, where I live, is that I just catch myself doing stupid stuff. So like when I bought my brand new Ducati Superbike this year, I had a little problem getting it out of the basement one day, and it's got some great video of me having a problem there. I tried to sacrifice my body under it. It didn't work out very well at all. It's a pretty expensive mistake, and that's kind of the most interesting thing I've ever caught on this system. But not good. So the service that listens on this thing always runs on 37777 unless you change it. So that's a pretty good identifier. I haven't seen any other services listening on that port as a rule. Not that it couldn't be the case. It's a binary protocol, like I said, consumed by either the ActiveX, the PSS FAT client, or the IDMSS mobile app. The vulnerability is that it doesn't require authentication. The login process of managing this thing is just kind of there. If you could, replay all the commands after authentication, the DVR will happily let you do whatever you want. So it's really not rocket science. It's a matter of replaying common requests. And so I fired up, Wireshark after I noticed this, and this is kind of what the deal is. So you want the SMTP settings where it uses an SMTP email account and password to send out still images. If you have that set up, it'll give you right back the SMTP credentials in clear text too. So that's probably not very visible to you folks in the back, but that's if you configure a username for an email account password, it's got that exposed. If you want the DDNS settings, right? Like you don't want to access it via IP, you register with a dynamic DNS service, and it stores all those creds and will give you those in clear text. There the response is. It's kind of buried in there. We'll see it better when we go into the tool I wrote. Similarly, you can archive your video onto an FTP server, and if you ask for it nicely, it'll return with the credentials. So not only does the vulnerability I found allow you access into the cameras, it also allows you to manage other dynamic DNS accounts, potentially get into their email, and even their FTP server, right? So you want the DVR users and passwords, obviously, so you can get your peep on. No, you can't. For some reason they hashed these, and it looks like a pretty weak hash. I don't know what hash algorithm they use, but it's always a static length and not very long. So how do we access the cameras, right? Well, you can just reset the password. So here's the request to reset the admin account to ABC123. And the only really trickery is that number, hex 19, that's just a checksum for the stream. So you populate it, make the checksum match. The other thing I noticed is it keeps logs when you log into this thing based on your IP address. So that could potentially be telling if you're wanting to catch people gaining unauthorized access. But you can just simply send a clear the logs request, and the logs are cleared. So that's another issue with this. So I identified this in August, and in the process of working with the vendor, I noticed that some other people simultaneously had issued some advisories on this, right? Hopefully this is a 0-day. There was one of these advisories that said something about authentication bypass, but then if you read the details, they weren't very specific, and they talked about UPnP. So as far as I know, this is a 0-day. If not, I apologize to these guys. And now we're just talking about a very cool Metasploit module to exploit and audit these devices. But so there were some CVEs published in September, the month after I found this. Things like a static telnet password with root access that, since it's a read-only file system, it's very difficult to change, shipped with every device. So there are some other issues with these devices, besides just the plain fact you can bypass Auth.
So is that external-facing telnet?
It depends on if you port forward or not with your, whatever firewall you're running. Yeah, it's running by default, and depending on whether you NAT it or not. Obviously, I didn't. But the ones that I've looked at, it's kind of half and half. Depends on whether they have it. If they do expose telnet, you got even a more serious issue than just peeping toms your root on the device. So some other issues. There were several other sockets listening that I haven't investigated what those services are. Obviously web, and then it's 3778. Remote code execution, I'd be surprised if there's no overflow that exists in this service that listens on the 37777. We didn't do any serious debugging of that service, but also obviously SMTP, FTP, DNS credentials stored in clear text, transferred in clear text, and many default accounts shipped on these devices by default. Admin, password is admin, 8888888, well 6/8, password is 6/8, and similarly the 6/6s. So it's not just the Auth bypass, but that's what we're talking about here. So I decided to write a Metasploit scanning module. Everyone familiar with Metasploit in here? Probably a good portion of you use it. So a scanning module, the difference is you can give it more than one IP addresses. It's multi-threaded. It's very efficient at finding vulnerabilities if you write it under that context. But the one I wrote scans for one or more addresses for these things, for DHUA DVRs. Retrieves the version serial, SMTP, that's definitely not the protocol I wrote there, but STMP, right? DDNS and FTP settings, gets the camera channel names, kitchen, bathroom, cocina, whatever. Gets the DVR usernames, hashes, and their group membership, and then also the DVR user groups. Optionally, the tool will overwrite a given username password, and also reset the logs. And then no matter what it does, it always stores what it finds in the Metasploit database. So if you type creds, you get the creds that you pulled out. That's the options page. I'm not sure how visible that is, but simple, right? Our hosts, and our port, give it a threads, the options to reset a password, either true or false, and then if you set it to true, you need to set a username value for the password reset, and then the clear logs option is default true. When you run the thing, that's what it looks like. We're going to actually run it against this DVR I have set up, pointed at you all. That's the second page. I couldn't fit it all into one screen. And then, of course, when you type creds, that's the storage. And it's demo time. So I've got the our GitHub repo for this thing if you want to test it out, and our blog entry, right?
You're amazing tool.
Thank you. So, and I forgot to mention, this is our second attendance here. My first meeting was the last chapter meeting, so we are contributing, and hopefully we can meet several more of you. So I'll switch over to Callie. How's that? Okay. So we're gonna get right into Metasploit. Okay, I can ping the thing, so that's a good sign. Load up MSF console. And so to use this tool, you just do git clone wherever you want. It'll pull down the tool. You copy the Ruby file into whatever modules directory you're using. In Kali, it's default like root.msf4 modules, etc. Where I like to put it is auxiliary scanners, miscellaneous, and then in there are several other DVR exploits, so it fits well there. So I'm going to type one-handed.
Pretty good.
All right, use the tab. Use the tab. MISC. DHUA. All right. Show the options, right? We talked about this. We're going to set the R hosts to 192.168. 1.254. Obviously, you set it to Class C, Class B, whatever. You can adjust the thread count if you're doing multiple hosts, so it's faster. We're going to set the password, so it's very obvious on the screen, to 1. And we're going to set the username that we want to reset. To admin. And show the options. Okay. We also need to set the reset option to true, since we're actually going to go in and break into this thing. And then it's just a matter of typing exploit, DVR found, pulling down the email settings, the DDNS settings. It's normally faster than this, so this is troubling. Of course. I need 2 hands. So apparently a bug in my code is that the Metasploit database needs internet connectivity to resolve host names. And if you're doing this at Barley's without an internet connection...
There's free Wi-Fi here.
All right.
My SSID is cool.
Yeah, just turn on your iPhone.
When your home SSID shows up, connect to that one.
Am I going over 15 minutes yet?
Yeah. We'll allow it.
All right, that's good. Barley's?
Yeah, that one.
Hell yeah.
Okay. And I have somehow also missed, I've hit the key to suspend my VM. That's a handy one.
Can you do show advanced on Metasploit, turn the game resolution off there? Is that something?
Yeah, that's probably something I can do too. All right. Haven't actually tried this without being connected to the internet, so. Okay, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Your prize, sir.
I will drink this while I'm here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So, 2 things to look at the end of all this gibberish. Password reset, user admin's password reset to 1. Logs cleared, all right? So we're gonna go back. We're gonna go to our Windows VM unsuspended. It knows I'm at a presentation.
Jake, we got a question over here.
What's that?
We got a question. So how long did it take you to do it?
Have you tried updating with like, so how's the update work on your system?
It's you literally upload a firmware file.
Okay.
Haven't been able to find any of it that I trust not to break my device. This thing's verified on 2 different versions. Obviously, it's a little hard to procure all these different devices, and the firmware, from what I could find, isn't exactly obvious which one to use and where it's at. So anyway, here we are, the login screen. Should be pretty easy to know. I just type 1, log in. There we go. There's the beautiful people. Up there.
Snapshot of that.
There it is. If you set the password, just to prove I'm not lying. To A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Exploit. Okay. Now we're going to log out. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. We're in again. So there it is.
Show us your tits.
I got a question for you real quick.
Sure, yeah.
So, I've noticed this, if you go look at all the DVR solutions, you know, around there.
Right.
They're like, they'll have like a Chinese name, and it'll look exactly the same. It's like, you know.
Why's it gotta be Chinese?
No, you're right. It is. So I had one before this. It was Chinese as well. This is Dahua Technologies, a Chinese company located in a province that starts with the letter X that I can't pronounce. But on the topic of full disclosure, responsible disclosure, we tried to work with them, and they said they'd fix it. So this was like early August. A month later, I asked them for an update, and they didn't respond. A week after that, I asked them again for an update, and they didn't respond. Every other instance of this, the Ray Sharp vulnerabilities, the Swan DVR vulnerabilities, I've seen no fix, so don't expect one. The answer, don't expose your DVR to the internet, right?
Do you expect that vulnerability to work on, like Swan, for example? I mean, do you expect that they're similar firmware, similar vulnerabilities, or?
No, this is just Dahua, and Dahua also rebrands their devices under several different names, and it's very hard to. What's that?
Huawei?
I don't know. I know one is like IMAX, and they're all awesome names too, like Maximum Eyes. But it's, yeah, you know, we would have liked to work with the vendor on a fix and then disclose it, but we didn't feel like we were going to get anywhere with them. And I have one of these at home. I have a wife and a brand new baby. She's breastfeeding. You know, it's very, I mean, you know, this is serious stuff. I don't want anyone intruding on my privacy, and I want to let everyone know. I'm obviously not the brightest guy in the world. This is a simple vulnerability to exploit. And so it's very unlikely to me that I'm the first one to find this and that I'm the only one exploiting it. I think it's likely that, I mean, it would be as easy as literally just patching the clients and just skipping the login screen, right? I mean,
So if you look at Shodan, or, I mean, like,
yeah, I did. So Shodan, they're so involved with common ports that 37777 doesn't really show up, right? They're not really looking for that guy. I thought it'd be really cool to download Mass Scan from ErrataSec and scan the entire internet for you know, that port, just to get an idea of, you know, how many thousands of these there are out there. But I mean, they're anything from Russian pawn shops to International House of Pancakes, you know, things like that. Like, these things are everywhere, and like you said, there's a million different brands of these DVRs, and I don't think I've seen one that I'd be confident in the security of, you know. I wish I had a better option, and they all want you to, they all either use basic Auth over, you know, unencrypted, or unsigned ActiveX with binary communication. It's pretty bad, it's rough. I wish there was if anyone knows of a better DVR option with, you know, H264 support and a decent HTML5 client, let me know, because I'm in
what
the
are you
market.
supposed to expose to the internet in order for you to be able to watch on your
this vulnerable service is is what you need to expose, plus 80, right, to hit it with a browser. Otherwise, you don't need, if you're using one of the fat clients in the mobile app, you don't need to expose the web port. But yeah, that's a good point. To view these things, you have to expose this vulnerable service. There's no way around it. I think you can do it via RTSP port 554, but then you have to remember the URL. You know, it's not as good of a user experience. Yeah, Alex?
So you're gonna submit this to the Metasploit main branch?
I'd like to. There's a bunch of other options that I think that this thing could do, like forge UPnP requests to open up Telnet, then get a Telnet shell in Metasploit. Match pre-existing hashes that I know are the default passwords to let you know it is the default. We don't need to change the admin. Yeah, I'd like for this to end up in the repo. I've never tried to get one at it, but I think this probably has a good shot. It works well, so we'll probably look into that.
Works well with internet access.
Yeah, if you have internet access, it doesn't work so well. Barley's without. But yeah, we got it going. So. Thanks. Any other questions? Thank you. It's good stuff. So next we're going to